Hello everyone, Tally and Farrell here from Bored of It. Here we are, ready to review our second Vital Lacerda game, Kanban EV. Vital Lacerda is a very highly regarded designer, and you could almost consider playing one of his games an experience due to the inevitable complexity and the masterful design of many interlinking mechanisms. Kanban EV is a reprint of one of his earlier games, Kanban Automotive Revolution. This one has upgraded artwork by, let's face it, one of the best artists in the game, Ian O'Toole, as well as a big expensive upgrade in component quality.
Kanban has an interesting theme in that it essentially forces you to go to work and you work for a manager who constantly reminds you that you aren't good enough, which I find kind of ironic considering you're probably going to be playing this in the comfort of your own home as a means to escape from the stress of your day-to-day job. But the theme is basically because you take the place of a kind of new worker or an intern at an electric vehicle manufacturing facility, which is why it has EV in the name. And essentially you are going to be kind of upgrading cars, producing them, testing them, while your manager goes department to department and tells you how much you suck. All right, guys, so I think we should go for the red design. Is there any dissent?
Have you upgraded three designs yet?
No, Mum, I haven't. I haven't even been to design yet. It's only my second day here. No,
that is simply unacceptable. I'm writing this in your record and you're going to be losing productivity points. Now get back to work, year 3 slackers.
Kanban has quite a busy board, but at its core it's just a worker placement game. You have 5 different departments to pick from, each with 2 spaces, and this is what you'll be fighting over. On your turn, you will take your worker and move it to a new department with a free space. And on these spaces, there is a number written, and this refers to the number of shifts you're going to work or actions you have. Now we'll go through the departments, starting from the bottom up. This first department is the administration department. And here, essentially, it just lets you work in any other department, say if you get blocked off from being able to go there. Then you have the design department. And here you can take these car designs, which show a type of car and maybe a car part. Above that, you have the warehouse. And here is where you can obtain these car parts. Then above that, you have the assembly department, and this is where you can provide needed car parts to push these cars down this conveyor belt, and when they come off the conveyor belt they will move over to the track over here. Then in the final department, research and development, which is where all the fun occurs, you can either upgrade a design, which is where you discard the car part shown on that design, or you can obtain a car from the track by discarding the design that matches that car.
So essentially, a main aim of Kanban is to collect car parts and designs, to then obtain upgraded designs and cars. If you have an upgraded design and matching car in your garage, it is then considered a tested design. Many of the productivity points, which are victory points in this game, will come from having upgraded designs, cars and tested designs. One twist to this seemingly simple goal are the meetings that occur when a certain number of cars have been obtained by the players. Here, you'll use these speech tokens, which you'll collect from doing certain actions or being the first to reach certain milestones. Players will take it in turn to claim these talking points, which are shown here by the cards, and they'll score big productivity points or PP if they meet the objectives. Some are communal, whilst others are private until you play them, so you can secretly work towards them. All in all, these are a big source of PP, and what's available can really change the flow of the game in unexpected directions. It's also another tactical consideration to make, as the player that goes first has the opportunity to block the other players from scoring maximum VP. However, in order to go first, you have to be the most certified.
Certification is another important mechanism in Kanban. When you visit a department, you can spend shifts there to train, And every time you train, you move up on these certification tracks. If you train 3 times, you become certified in that department. And this will unlock new spaces on your player board to hold more stuff. And you may also get a new action in that department. Also, whoever is highest on the certification track at the end of the game will be gaining decent productivity points. But what is more valuable than productivity points?
Not feeling Sandra's wrath.
You have a manager, her name is Sandra, and she is mean.
She'll go from department to department, evaluating the player or players who have the least training and penalising them on their failures, and you'll lose many productivity points.
So she becomes yet another plate to spin, and it means that when you go to a department, you won't always just be thinking about what actions you can take there.
Mean Sandra is one of our favourite mechanics and is the main one that gives this game a twist and makes it feel different to other similar games of its genre. Firstly, it provides dilemmas for the players. Ideally, you want to be spending your shifts on doing work, but training keeps Sandra off your back. How should you balance this?
And you're also going to be caught out by Sandra, because say you have 3 designs, you're ready to spend them, you're going to turn those designs into VP, but then you realise that Sandra is going to evaluate designs next turn. Now, if you spend those designs like you planned, you won't meet her criteria and you're going to be docked points. So what do? Do you just take the hit, or do you waste a turn and kind of take a knee? You could go get some car parts, not really what you want to do, but then at least you don't lose those points. And on top of this, you can also use Sandra tactically against other players. Because if you nip into a department right before she goes there and evaluates it, and you train yourself up past everyone else, next thing they know, they're all getting docked points and you're sitting pretty.
It's what elevates this game above other Euro games. It feels constantly engaging because you always have this feeling of having lots of fires but not enough time to put them all out. So I just trained in assembly and I'm feeling good. But then Farrell goes there in his next turn and moves 2 spaces up the certification track. Now I'm in the crosshairs and Sandra is coming after me.
There's also a variant included called Nice Sandra, and this kind of essentially takes her out of the game. You basically only get rewarded for doing good, there's no punishment, and to us it makes the game a little bit boring because it takes away a whole mechanic and it becomes kind of like any other Euro where you just focus on this main, get designs, get car parts, turn them into stuff, and there's not a lot more to think about. But what we would say actually is it's great if, say, a few people are experienced players and you're introducing someone new or someone that might be a bit overwhelmed by the game, because if you use Nice Sandra, it's A, one less mechanic to think about, and B, they're not getting punished literally every turn for things that they have no idea they should be doing or know about or worrying about.
Maybe we're just savages.
We're savages. We like it because we're mean and we're mean to each other.
So the only experience we'd had previously to this with Vital Lacerda games was on Mars, which is a genuinely sprawling sandbox of opportunities. Now, whilst we don't think you can directly compare the 2 games, we just wanted to bring it up here to say we were surprised after playing on Mars how one note what you do in Kanban is, and by saying one note, we in no way assign any kind of negative connotation. What we mean is that in order to win, you're going to want to upgrade designs and claim cars. In order to do that, you need to get car parts and designs. So you'll go and you'll get car parts, you'll get designs, then you'll upgrade and claim cars. Now there's obviously a bit more to it than that with Sandra and having to colour match your cars, upgrades and designs, but that's the general idea.
And this means that it's not too difficult to learn how to play, and it's not that bad to teach either, because you have a main focal point of what you're trying to do in the game. And if you're looking for a big chunky Euro, don't worry, this doesn't make it simplistic, because there's a lot going on and there's a lot of variability and a lot of things to think about, some of which Tally just mentioned. But you also have to consider the players, because the players play a big impact on the game, particularly at higher player counts. Because, the players can basically take designs you want, they can take car parts you want, they can take cars you want, and they can kind of monkey around with the assembly line. And, what can happen is you have a plan and you look at the end of game goal and you say, right, I want 2 black cars, and that's your plan. And then you go and look at the assembly and you realize that it will take 4 car parts and 4 shifts just to get one on the track so you can take it. And then it's going to be at the back of the line of cars on the track. So then it's going to cost way more shifts than you're willing to pay just to get it on your player board. And you have to play reactively because of the other players. So it's definitely a lot of great design here. There's a lot going on and it kind of stands above other Euro games. I really enjoy how the productivity points and winning the game is completely tied in with the theme of being a rookie worker being evaluated at a new job. One of my personal pet peeves in board games is when they create, an immersive theme or a great experience, but then the final scoring or the win condition is totally abstract from what you've actually been doing, because it makes everything feel disjointed and brings you out of that immersion. But here it all fits together really well because you're a new employee and you're being evaluated or criticized on how you perform at work. And the most effective worker will be the player that wins the game and keeps their job. It's just really top design. So Kanban has a variable endgame trigger in that it triggers when you've had 3 meetings and Sandra's at the board twice, or vice versa. And I'm not a fan of this kind of system because you can essentially go to a space and someone can go to a space, and depending on what they do, the game can end right there, or you could play for 4 more turns. And I think knowing how many turns there is in the game, roughly, is crucial to any kind of strategy. And this is a very strategic game. You have to optimize your turns. And I think the way it ends is my least favorite part of the game.
So for me, that doesn't really bother me as much as it does Farrell. Like, I get his point that it can be annoying to not know when the game is going to end and you think, I just want 1 more turn or 2 more turns to do this. But for me, it's just part of the game. It is what it is. And you have to kind of compensate that in your strategy and strategize for not knowing when the game is going to end. 1 more turn or 5 more turns, you have to plan for it.
And not as bored of it debates. So I just want to talk very quickly about the inadequate storage solution. I find that in Vital Lacerda's games, when he collaborates with Eagle Griffin Games, they try to have these big game trays looking storage solutions which are actually more style than substance, and they create more hassle than they're worth. As an example, they never seem to know what to do with cardboard tokens, of which there's a lot of, and they have you store them in slots. This creates more problems than it solves, because the award tokens are like books on a shelf, so when you remove a few in the middle, they all collapse in on each other. The end game goals, there's 18 of them, and if you want one randomly, you have to take all 18 out and then put 17 back. They were much better off in plastic bags and much easier to handle. Then all these upgraded components that you're paying a lot of money for, probably why you have this version, you'd think that they'd have nice little storage compartments for them, color-coded. Nope, they get shoved in plastic bags willy-nilly wherever you can find space in the box. On top of all that, no details on how to store any of these components in the storage solution they provide you, and it's not intuitive, I can tell you that. I had to find it on an old Kickstarter update, which is ridiculous because I bought it at retail, so why am I having to go through this effort to know how to store components they've given me with the storage they've given me? So, final thoughts. Kanban EV is a terrific game, and while it doesn't do anything new or novel, which is to be expected because this game did come out in its original form years and years ago, it does manage to twist familiar aspects of Euro games into something that feels fresh. And, you could say this is to normal Euro games what a better sequel is to a much beloved movie. So you could say Kanban EV is the Ace Ventura When Nature Calls of board games.
One example of this novelty is the mean Sandra mechanic, which is an excellent way to shake things up and gives you tactical considerations that you don't otherwise have in other games of a similar type. The artwork by Ian O'Toole is also a beautiful addition. Now, this game is expensive, but we feel it deserves it due to the high production value and the crunchy gameplay that it provides. Farrell probably wouldn't say that it's a must-have to add to your collection, especially if you're worried about the price. However, for me, I think it's actually my new favourite game, so make of that what you will. If you enjoyed this video, we'd really appreciate it if you could give it a thumbs up, helps us to grow our channel. and subscribe if you haven't already for regular board game content, always with a little hint of these two doggos.
Bye bye.